The cold wind of the early morning blew across the narrow alleys of the town, carrying with it the faint smell of fresh bread from the bakery and the distant sound of people preparing for another busy day. In the middle of all this movement, a tiny girl of about 8 years old walked barefoot on the rough ground. Her clothes were worn, her hair tangled, and her eyes held a kind of tiredness no child should ever carry. Her name was Anya. For the past 3 days, she had eaten nothing but the tiny crumbs she could find near the market. Hunger had become her shadow, following her everywhere. That morning, Anya passed by a small milk shop. People stood in line, buying bottles for their homes. The sweet smell of warm milk reached her nose, causing her empty stomach to twist painfully. She stepped closer, watching the steam rise from the large pot. Her lips trembled. She knew she shouldn't, she knew she had no right, but her hunger was stronger than her fear. With shaking fingers, she dipped a small metal spoon, lying near the counter, into the pot and brought it to her lips. 1 spoon. Just 1 spoon of milk. It wasn't even enough to fill her stomach, but for one moment, it gave her warmth. Before she could even breathe, a loud voice exploded behind her. The shopkeeper grabbed her arm roughly, his face burning with anger. He didn't see a starving child. He only saw a thief. People turned their heads. Some whispered. Some judged. Some shook their heads. A little girl caught stealing milk. What a shame, they said. The shopkeeper dragged her out and pushed her onto the street. She stumbled and fell, scraping her knee on the harsh ground. Her small sob mixed with the noise of the street, but no one cared enough to stop. Don't ever come near my shop again. The man shouted. You dirty little thief. Anya lowered her head, tears falling silently. She wasn't angry at him. She wasn't angry at anyone. She was just tired. Tired of being hungry. Tired of being alone. Tired of surviving. She walked forward, wiping her tears, but each step felt heavier than the last. She didn't know where to go. She didn't have a home, didn't have parents, didn't have a single person in the world to protect her. Her mother had passed away years ago, and her father had left long before that. She only had the streets, and the streets had never been kind. As she crossed the road, she didn't notice the black luxury car pulling up near the milk shop. The man who stepped out was someone people recognized, a well-known businessman, a millionaire named Saif Ali Khan. Known for his wealth, his empire, and his powerful influence, Saif was feared and respected. But very few people knew the truth about him, about the loneliness he carried, about the daughter he had lost years ago, about the ache in his heart that even millions couldn't heal. As he walked toward the shop to buy milk for his morning tea, he saw a crowd whispering. Then, he saw her. The tiny girl sitting on the ground, holding her scraped knee, her face buried in her hands. Something inside him shifted. For a moment, the world around him blurred, and all he saw was a child who looked far too small to carry so much pain. He stepped closer and crouched down. Are you hurt? He asked softly. Anya didn't look up at first. She thought it was another person coming to shout at her. She slowly lifted her head, her eyes swollen from crying. When she saw him, she froze. She wasn't used to people speaking kindly. Saif noticed the red mark on her arm where the shopkeeper had grabbed her. Who did this? He asked gently. She shook her head, not wanting to cause trouble. No one. I was just hungry. His chest tightened. How long since you've eaten? She hesitated. 3 days, maybe 4. I don't remember. Those words hit him like a punch. A small child wandering the streets alone, starving, begging silently for help that never came. Something about her reminded him of his own daughter, whose life was taken too early in an accident. Ever since then, he had buried himself in work, money, and power, anything to keep the memories away. But now, looking at Anya, he felt something he hadn't felt in years, the urge to protect. He stood up and glanced toward the shopkeeper. What happened? He asked firmly. The shopkeeper, shocked to see a millionaire standing in his shop, stuttered. Sir, she took milk without paying. A thief. Saif raised a hand sharply. She took 1 spoon. 1 spoon of milk. And instead of helping her, you threw her onto the street. The shopkeeper went quiet. People around them lowered their heads. Saif didn't shout, but his voice carried power. He turned back to Anya. Come with me, he said. Anya stepped back in fear. I didn't steal anything else. I promise. Please don't take me to the police. His heart broke at her words. I'm not taking you to the police, he said gently. I'm taking you to breakfast. Her eyes widened. No one had spoken to her like that in years. He opened the car door and waited. She hesitated for a moment, but then her hunger pushed her forward. She climbed in, still unsure, still scared. Saif sat beside her and told his driver to go to a nearby restaurant. The moment they entered the warm place, the staff looked confused. A millionaire dressed in an expensive suit, and a little homeless girl wrapped in torn clothes. But one look from Saif silenced all questions. He asked the waiter to bring food, real food. Bread, eggs, porridge, milk, fruit. Anya stared at the table in disbelief. She had never seen so much food. But when she lifted her spoon, her hands shook. She ate slowly at first, unsure if she deserved it. But Saif smiled at her. Eat as much as you want, he said. No one will take it from you. As she ate, tears rolled down her cheeks. Not because she was sad, but because, for once, she wasn't invisible. Someone saw her. Someone cared. After breakfast, Saif took her to a nearby clinic. Her knee was cleaned and bandaged. Her arm was checked. She was given a warm jacket. The doctor offered her a smile, the kind she hadn't seen in years. On the way back to the car, she tugged on Saif's sleeve. Why are you helping me? He looked at her with soft eyes. Because no child deserves to suffer alone. But I'm just a street girl, she whispered. He smiled sadly. And I'm just a man who forgot how to be human. Maybe you reminded me. From that moment, something changed between them. Saif didn't treat her like a stranger. He talked to her like she mattered. Like her existence wasn't a burden but a gift. Her innocence, her tiny voice, her bravery, everything about her touched his heart. As days passed, he started looking for her regularly. He would bring food, clean clothes, little toys. Slowly, Anya stopped flinching when someone called her name. Slowly, she started smiling again, small, hesitant smiles, but real ones. One evening, as the sun was setting and the streets turned golden, Anya sat beside Saif on a bench. She looked at him with hopeful eyes. Do you have a daughter? She asked quietly. He froze. The question hit deep. I had a daughter, he whispered. She looked a lot like you. A gentle silence fell between them. Then Anya placed her tiny hand over his. I'm sorry, she said softly. I know what it's like to lose someone. Her words were simple, but they healed something inside him. For years, he had blamed himself for not protecting his daughter. He had locked away all his memories. But this little girl, the one society had thrown away, was giving him back a piece of his heart. One morning, after weeks of caring for her from a distance, Saif made a decision. A decision that would change both their lives forever. He went to the child welfare office, filled out the necessary forms, and then went looking for Anya. He found her sitting alone near the same alley where he had first seen her. Anya, he said gently. She looked up. You came. He smiled. I will always come. He knelt down to her level. How would you feel if you didn't have to live on the streets anymore? Her heart skipped. What do you mean? Would you like to come home with me? Not for a day. Not for a meal. Forever. Her spoon fell from her hand. Her breath stopped. For a moment, she couldn't even understand his words. Home, she whispered. I can have a home. Yes, he said softly. A home, a family, a future. Tears streamed down her face, tears of disbelief, joy, fear, hope, all mixed into one. She threw her arms around him, and for the first time in years, Saif felt like he had something to live for. He carried her to the car, holding her as gently as one holds a treasure. When they reached his mansion, the staff looked shocked. But Saif didn't care. He took her inside, showed her a warm room with soft blankets and a little bookshelf filled with stories. This is yours now, he said. Anya touched everything with trembling hands. Mine. Yes, sweetheart, he said, his voice emotional. Everything is yours. The next few days were like a dream. Anya got new clothes, toys, shoes, books. But more than that, she got love. Real, unconditional love. Saif became the father she had never known. She became the daughter he had lost and found again. Their bond grew stronger every day. One afternoon, Saif brought her to the same milk shop. The shopkeeper looked terrified. This child, Saif said calmly, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder, is under my protection now. The shopkeeper lowered his head, ashamed. Anya didn't say anything. She simply smiled, the first confident smile she had ever given. The entire town soon learned about the millionaire who adopted a homeless girl caught stealing milk. Some people were shocked. Some admired him. Some gossiped. But Saif didn't care. The only thing that mattered was the small hand that held his with trust, the little voice that called him, Papa, and the laughter that returned to his home after years of silence. Months passed. Anya started going to school. She made friends. She began writing simple stories. She learned to dream, big dreams. Each night, she would sit with Saif on the balcony, drinking warm milk, and watching the stars. One night, she looked up at him and said, Papa, will you promise me something? Anything, he replied. Promise me, you'll never let me go. He hugged her close. I promise, Anya. You're my daughter. And you always will be. The little girl who was once thrown out for stealing a spoon of milk now slept in a soft bed, with a loving father by her side and a bright future ahead. And the man who once lived alone in his mansion now had a purpose, a reason to smile, and a daughter to adore. Sometimes, destiny brings two broken souls together in the most unexpected way. A spoon of milk brought them face to face, but love kept them together forever.